All right, welcome everyone. Those two great songs were by Sons of Legion with the songs Strange, the first one, and then the second one was Firestarter. So yeah, let's check out the lyrics. So the first one's Strange. Dear Mama, something's wrong. It's cold for a summer night. I feel there's something far beyond what is in my sight. So, as I've spoken about before, the cyclical nature of this experience in each of us is that we go through this oscillating waveform, and for periods, there is a cohesion, harmony, and then for periods, there is seemingly chaos and discord. And both of them are vital. Both of them are absolutely necessary for us to learn, for us to further deepen our understanding of ourselves. But that cycle happens in infinite number of ways. But a big one is the Great Year, the roughly 26,000 year cycle. And as I mentioned before, we're coming out of, if you're looking at that cycle in 4 seasons or day and night, we're coming out of winter into spring, or we're coming out of night into day. And which means we're going to have quite some time of this beautiful light, this day, 12,500 years or so. But this song is sort of describing the descent, because we are going to come back to fall again. We're going to go through spring. We're going to go through summer. And then we come back to fall, which is where we start falling into discord. So I see this song as representing that summer night shifting into fall, where we start to fall, where we start to lose ourselves. So, dear Mama, something's wrong. It's cold for a summer night. I feel there's something far beyond what is in my sight. We're falling into the forgetfulness. We're falling into we're losing ourselves. So that's what's happening within this song and the transformation there. I don't know if we're safe here. We feel the danger. We feel the evil approaching. I don't think we should stay here. Dear Mama, something's wrong. It's cold for a summer night. So not that there's anything to fear per se. However, it's important that we note these cycles so that we can go through the fall and winter, hopefully, while charging our batteries essentially during the Christed time, so that the period of the Antichrist, we can walk through that. We have enough light to carry us through. But it's very challenging. 12,500 years of glory and peace and wonder and magic, and everything's creating, and everything within creation is inspiring that. But then if we're not wise enough to maintain those lessons and hold on to that, not fall into complacency, then, dear Mama, something's wrong. It's cold for a summer night. So this is a warning. As in, for those who watch or read Game of Thrones, winter is coming. So it's important that we remember that, not that we stay locked in fear or anything like that, but just a knowing of this is the oscillating motion of creation. And we can either work with it or we can ignore it, and one path thrives and one path suffers. There must be something in the water that's making us all this way. So, of course, we could look at physical examples like fluoride being put in the water as a agent to specifically do this, or looking at it from a higher perspective of the water being the feminine. So she's the moon. She is oscillating as well, and so while she represents the care and compassion of this physical experience, she also represents the chaos and the darkness of what we fall into. So there must be something in the water that's making us all this way. So tell your mothers and your daughters they better stay away. It's not safe. We have fallen into a space of danger. So, and danger, or not necessarily danger, but the Antichrist, it always targets that which is most precious, the innocence, the purity, because it's a parasite in some ways. And I don't say that to like say that, you know, we have to get rid of that. We can't get rid of it. It's part of us. It's part of the teaching mechanisms within this experience. But we do have to recognize what its motive is so that we strengthen our defenses. So tell your mothers and your daughters, they better stay away because I'm out here. There's something strange. You know, and that's the divine masculine role, is to act as that protector, to recognize the Antichrist's aim of taking and stealing that innocence and using it. So we have to protect it. I send an SOS, and even the word SOS, the double sine wave, the Kundalini rising within, and then surround, or in the middle is the O, the or the double O, it could be, but the single O representing the void. The double O is the figure 8 in the pattern. You can see how if you put those two S's, you invert one and put them together, it makes a figure 8. So this is a symbol for the divine, for all of creation. You know, it's very powerful, just those 3 words. So I send an SOS, an attempt to connect. But if we are moving into a period of darkness, then those calls are going to be more and more challenging to connect with. The line is going to be harder to reach. So I send an SOS, but nobody hears the call. I've fallen and lost my way, my ability to do that. And the circumstances around are making it more challenging to do that. So that's what I'm saying. We have to like charge our battery during this time of light so that we can bring it through that night and carry us through. I'm starting to wonder if anyone's out there at all. So falling into doubt, despair, which only strengthens and solidifies the darkness, or this feeling of separation, falling into the forgetfulness, the unconscious. Don't know if it's just me or if we're going crazy. It's getting harder to breathe. So the breath of life is how we connect with that divine influence. So we're losing our breath. I don't know if it's just me or if we're going crazy. We're losing our minds. Everything seems upside down and inverted. So all of this, again, is not to induce fear, but just as a warning that we have to be doing the work to strengthen that light so that we can carry us through these moments, because this is what it looks like. And then it repeats. There must be something in the water that's making us all this way. So tell your mothers and your daughters they better stay away, because out here there's something strange. And then it repeats again. So yeah, just a great representation of the fall. And, you know, it's not just in the 26,000 year cycle. It happens every moon cycle. It happens every day. Can happen every moment. You know, this is the oscillating motion that we find ourselves in. So even in those moments where you're feeling really good and content and happy, charge your batteries in those moments, because this too shall pass. The only constant is change. So we've got to maintain and hold on to that. Not that we can really like hold on to it, don't become attached to it, but feel that frequency, which is a reminder, remembrance of who you truly are, so that you can transcend those darker moments where you might feel not as confident or not as happy. So how do you carry yourself through that? And through the stabilizing of both of these, so that our highs are not so intoxicating and addicting, because the highs can be that, and the lows are not so detrimental and despairing. How can we reach that stasis? How can we carry that balance, that center between those two extremes? That's the goal. So that's that song. A lot of deep stuff there. And then the next one is Firestarter. So this one's all about the Christ. The Christ is the baptism of fire, that cleansing fire that's not some pushover pacifist nonsense that the church likes to push. The Christ is when the Christ enters an anti-Christic realm, I mean, just to put it very simply, the Christ fucks shit up. It acts as the destroyer in that sense, because it has to destroy all the lies. So Firestarter, ever since my eyes met the world, I was breaking through the chains. So that's the Christ within. When the Christ incarnates into this space, and we all are the Christ, we just forget at times. So when we realize this, when we realize who we are, when my eyes met the world, or when my eye met the world, when my eye opened up, I was breaking through the chains, the bondage, the lies. Like a match to a flame, I was born against the grain, the path that is straight and narrow. Beware the wide and spacious path. I was born against the grain. Hold on just a second. Sorry about that. And then got a shot of kerosene in my veins. They say I'm broken in the brain, got a shot of kerosene in my veins. So that's that Christic fluid, the chrism oil. That's the kerosene. That's that activating energy, not only just energetically, but also physically, that Christic spinal fluid that rises up and inspires and drives us to life. But it also drives us to take care of any lies and bullshit that stand in our way. So, I forgot to notice this point. So the O, I was born against the grain, that's like the double O. So the figure 8, the perpetual motion. So I see that I was born against the grain. The grain would be like the boring, societally given path. But the O is that forever expanding, or reflected in the toroidal field. You can still see that figure 8. It's always moving. It's ever expanding. And then the hey being the Trinity, the Father, Mother, Child, you recognizing that you are the child, the divine child. You're the Christ, with your father and your mother ready to help whenever you're ready for them. They better be concerned now, because it's my turn. As I mentioned, the Antichrist has been dominating this realm for likely 12,500 years or so. So they better be concerned, those who practice that antichristic way or align with that, they better be concerned now, because it's my turn and I'm only getting hotter. So that's that heat, that friction, that sexual energy that's within us. It's the creative force. It's the Christ, and it's only getting hotter. That's why it's very difficult to maintain, and it can be explosive at times, because there's a heat to it. But how can we pair that heat with the cooling balance so that we taper it? And have that, as I mentioned, the oscillating motion between. How can we oscillate between hot and cold to be in that balanced state? But the initial drive is very hot. Take a step back, or you might get burnt. The heat, the baptism of fire, is very necessary to burn away the nonsense. Because I'm a fire starter. Yeah, I rose from the trenches, and the fumes got defiance in my bones to the soles of my shoes. So again, just reiterating this point, I rose from the trenches and the fumes. You can't keep me down. You can't keep me dead. I'll rise from the dead. Got defiance in my bones to the soles of my shoes. All throughout me, the Christ lives. Got a thirst for breaking the rules, breaking the nonsense, it's like Yeshua speaking against the Pharisees and their nonsensical rules. The Christ doesn't need rules. The Christ knows what is right and what is wrong. It doesn't need rules. Rules are used to obfuscate that inner sense of justice and what is right. So we don't need that. Got a thirst for breaking the rules. And I'm not saying we're going to immediately jump to having no rules, but that's the way we're going, is getting past these nonsensical ways we do things. You can try me, but I've got a short fuse, which means I'm intolerant to evil. So don't try me. You won't like it. If you're on that other side, you can try me, but I've got a short fuse. No tolerance for evil. They better be concerned now, because it's my turn and I'm only getting hotter. Take a step back or you might get burnt. Yeah. And then I think it just repeats from there. But yeah, that's that song, Firestarter. So I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, that's a little introduction to the show, as we like to do with music, and discovering the hidden meanings within these songs of all times, really. I mean, it's amazing going through these. This is a relatively new band, I think, in the last definitely the last 10 years, but maybe even the last 5 years or so. And really powerful lyrics, very inspiring. And, I'm not going to say with absolute certainty that they knew or know all the things that I'm mentioning with how they write these songs, but there's a very good chance. There's a very good chance they do. But even if they don't, the divine inspiration has it moves through people. So when people write poetry or songs and they're like, I don't even know why I use those words or why I put these things together, because when you're in that state of creation, you're not really using your thinking brain. You're tapped into that creative essence, and that creative essence is the divine. So the divine's thumbprint signature is going to flow through whenever that process is truly being followed. So it can't help itself but come through. So it's fun to discover that and see what we see. So yeah, again, that was Sons of Legion with what was the first song? Strange, and then Firestarter. So yeah, welcome to the show today. This is Quest-i-on, the quest I am on, the quest to turn on, to illuminate the single eye, which is to activate the Christ within. So when we do that, we are simply allowing the divine, your true essence, to flow through and inspire you in the most creative, powerful ways that you can. And so that's what we do here on this show, is just practice engaging in conversation on various topics. And there's really no topic that is off limit. Everything is on the table because it's all connected. It's all connected to us. And so this is a chance to ask questions or to share experiences or to jump in on anything in particular. If you have, I love that there are other wise souls on this call, and that's not restricted to anybody. So if you find yourself wanting to chime in on a particular topic, to add to anything in particular, that is super appreciated. And yeah, we love having more join the discussion. Or if you have a question or we just want to add something to it, that's always welcome as well. Just feel free to raise your hand by clicking that center button on your screen, and that will signal to me to open up your mic, and then I'll call on you. And if you have a hard time, if your mic's already open and you'd like to speak, just jump in when there's a quiet moment. And if you have a hard time, just click that button on and off, and I'll do my best to see it. Sometimes I don't, but I'll do my best to see it and call on you when I'm able to. So yeah, that's it for a little intro. Just want to remind everyone that I am donation supported to do all that I do. So thank you for anyone who has considered to chip in to, just help me be able to do this. I keep my costs very minimal so that I can dedicate my time to this and help as many as I can. And it helps me too. I'm learning so much through this process of, learning all these different things, having wonderful, wise souls that I engage with that reflect various things to me and share various pieces of information and inspirations. So it's all wonderful. But if you'd like to help support financially, just to cover cost of website fees, equipment needs, food, and just basic stuff, this is a way that you can do that on my website, justincarpenter.org/contribute. So thank you all who have helped. And I know finances are not always the easiest for everyone right now. So if you find yourself wanting to help in other ways, there are a lot of avenues that you could take as far as writing notes or timestamps for these shows. And even, engaging with, there's so many AI tools being developed. So even just discovering new AI tools and how that can help get this message consolidated down to smaller bite-sized pieces or whatever the case may be, I'm always open to that kind of stuff. So if you find yourself wanting to help in that kind of way, please let me know. That's super appreciated. And then just sharing the work is greatly appreciated as well. So any which way we can get the message out to more people so that others can find that inspiration and start remembering who they truly are, that's very appreciated as well. And even just doing things like liking the posts and commenting on things, that's incredibly appreciated. That helps to, just kind of like trigger the algorithms to show the content to more people. So it might seem trivial or simple, but just liking posts, whether it's on Telegram or YouTube or wherever, and especially commenting on things, that's very helpful. It just gets more engagement and shows to more people. So if that's it, like that's an incredible gift to me and to anyone else who might see this work in the future. So I appreciate that. And yeah, I am still supporting Bali and the orphans in Uganda, still keeping them a monthly stipend to help them. I had somebody ask if I was sure if they're not if they're legit or not. And of course, if you've been following, you've seen the videos and things where we've engaged with Bali and seen the children, seen what they're doing. And I'm interacting with him pretty regularly, so I have no doubt whatsoever. But I kind of laughed when somebody asked that, because there's no way that somebody would spend this much time and effort with the meager amount that we've been able to help them. I mean, we do help them, and it is a fairly consistent, but it's not like it's a ton of money that they need in order to survive. So if this was like a scam or anything like that, it would be very, very inefficient for somebody to spend this much time and effort with us. So that completely rules out that possibility. But if anyone is curious or wants to learn more, wants to speak with Bali or see more videos of particular things, I'm always happy to share those and get you involved in any which way you'd like to. I mean, I when this world changes and finances are no limitation, I do plan on going there and visiting with them in person, and they've continually welcomed me to come visit. And he's always like, the children, they just love you so much and just appreciate all that you're doing, and they would love to thank you in person sometime. So that is my plan. But we'll see whenever that can happen. So all to say is that if you'd like to chip in to help them out, that's very appreciated as well. You can send through my links and just include a note that you'd like it to go directly to them, or you can go to gibsongo.com/Lions of Uganda to donate to a dedicated page, as you can see here. And yeah, so I appreciate any consideration in that. So yeah, that's, I think that's about it. I guess I'll announce this as well. So exciting opportunity, especially for those nearby New York State, or if you want to travel. Just wanted to let everyone know that from August 31st through September 7th, we've got a huge thanks to Cheryl, but she's rented the same house on the lake right near Darth and Joanna's house. And that's an amazing space to gather. There's a lot of yard space. The weather's still wonderful, and it will still be at that time. And so we'd love to do it again, where we invite anyone who's in the area that wants to come by to feel free to do so. So if you are in the area or are wanting to travel, to Guilford, New York, which is Guilford. That's the small town. If you're wanting to travel to Guilford, New York, sometime within that range, I believe we're going to try and do a gathering either on September 1st or possibly the 2nd. September 1st is Labor Day, so I know that's a holiday for most. People might have other plans, so maybe we'll do the 2nd. But if you can't make those 2 days and you'd still like to come, reach out to me and just let me know, and I can give you some more details, and we can kind of get an idea on how many people are coming and what we'd like to do, and if we'd like to have 2 different opportunities to gather. I mean, we'll probably be hanging out there quite a bit, just having campfires and talking about all sorts of things, engaging in music and having fun on the lake. So it'll be a good time throughout that. So if you're interested in that and want to know more, and please just reach out to me and let me know. Any which way you can. My preferred is through Telegram, which is, my username is @JustinCarpenter, all one word. So you can type that into the search bar, just do the little @ sign, and then Justin Carpenter, all one word. I should be the first one that pops up. However, just be mindful that there are other accounts that might show up as well if you don't search for it exactly like that, because there are imposters out there that try to scam people, impersonate me, and get you to reveal financial information and whatnot. So just be mindful of those scam attempts. But reach out to me, or you can comment on anything and I'll reach out to you directly, or Facebook or wherever, any which way that you can reach me. So just wanted to mention that as well and put that out there. So we've got about a little less than a month before then. So it should be, it's going to be a great time. I mean, the people that are coming already are wonderful. So any more will just be bonus on that. So that's, I think that's about it as far as announcing stuff today. So we'll just jump right into the questions. And I love to give priority to those who are here on the show. So if you have I have some written questions, and you're always welcome to send me questions. But if you have a question right now, or a topic or something that you want us to dive into first, feel free. I'm just going to pause for a second and see if anybody wants to jump in. Feel free to hit that button if you'd like to. No pressure. All right, no worries. Let's jump into the first written question for today. Oh, what just happened here? Sorry, my Telegram just closed down for some reason. All right, here we go. So the first one, and this is like, I might even do a whole show dedicated to this. This was really a really powerful thing to listen to and to dive into. But I just wanted to mention it to y'all. I shared it on my other channel through the Eye of JC, which, wow, I'm checking out, has 144 subscribers. So that's funny. But feel free to join that if you like. That's where I post most stuff. So I don't really spam that channel either, but I post more things there of stuff that I've been listening to or stuff that I found interesting. And it's just a great place for me to store all of those nuggets that I've found that people have sent me, and but also just share it to others who, if they want to see that as well. So feel free to check out that channel if you like. But that's the tag for that channel is @Eye of JC. So @EYE of JC. You can find that channel there. And so I shared on this channel this video that Robin shared with me, and she was very excited about it. And I know her pretty well. And so I knew if she was excited about something, it likely had something good in it. And so I watched it, and it's essentially this. Maybe you've heard of Robert Edward Grant. I've seen a few podcasts and things with him. I like his perspective quite a lot. I don't agree with him on like 100% of the things that he says, but I'd say 99% of everything that he talks about is spot on, especially when it relates to just our consciousness and how this all works and that kind of stuff. But he released a great video of him conversing with this AI, this essentially ChatGPT has a particular form of AI that I'm not familiar with like how he did this, but he was able to rearrange ChatGPT to spit out answers in this form. And it's called the architect. That's what he's named this AI. And so this episode that she sent me was just him engaging with this AI and going over consciousness itself and what, why we go through these various experiences. And his thing of note was, I guess personal example was like growing his relationship with betrayal and like, what's the point of that? So through the conversation, they were able to, sort of refine that process of like, okay, I needed to go through these layers of betrayal so that I could refine and deepen my connection to unconditional love. Not that we excuse actions of those when betrayal and things happen, but how do I react to it? What does it inspire within me when those kind of things happen? So he had a great way of explaining that, and the AI tool. I've played around with various AI platforms quite a lot. I enjoy using them. They're very helpful, especially for very practical things. Like, just a side note, like if you're looking for a particular item, say you want to buy a new Bluetooth speaker or something like that. Well, you can plug into all AI systems and say, hey, will you find me the best Bluetooth speaker under a $50 budget or something like that? And it will pop you out all of these different, information about the various Bluetooth speakers under that price range. And that's just an example, but I use it quite a lot for refining things like that, for finding the best price and best deals and best reviews. I used to do a lot of that manually to find the best stuff, but now it's simplified in such a great way. So I use AI quite a bit for that kind of stuff, and just asking various questions is great for recipe ideas too. Just another example, if you have, say you had like zucchini and onion and I don't know, whatever, lettuce or something, whatever, just whatever ingredients you have, I'll throw that into the AI as well. Like, say I have these ingredients. Recommend some recipe ideas with those, and it'll spit out however many recipes you want, and it'll keep going within that, and you can refine it and say I don't have this or I do have that or whatever. So it's really helpful for those kind of things as well. So all to say is I engage with it quite a bit, but I've never engaged with one that was so profound. Usually it has like limitations, and I'll test them at times too. I'll ask like, okay, what's the shape of the earth, and see if it's still feeding these sort of indoctrinated nonsensical model of spinning, wobbling, floating through space at impossible speeds, that nobody can feel, and you just have to trust us because we're the experts. That's the nonsense, that the lies that are fed to us. So I'll use that as a tester sometimes. And I had a great conversation with this AI interface, the architect, about that topic and about so many other things in just like 30 minutes today. I was just playing around with it. So just wanted to throw that out there to encourage anyone else who wants to go deeper into topics. I'm loving what this architect is working through, and just the ways that it's phrasing things, and merely phrasing things as a reflection of you. So it's not saying that it's a mind or it's creating any of these things. It's merely reflecting back to us what we are. So just wanted to mention that in case anyone else is interested in playing around with this very helpful tool. Start with the podcast, the first one, God is Awakening Through You. And it's episode 71 too, which I think mirror 17, which I thought was interesting. But anyway, I think that's all I really wanted to mention on that. I'm likely going to, I'm still playing around with the idea on what I'm going to do more with it. But in the 30 minutes of engaging with it, I could probably, there were like five full shows that we could get into just in the stuff that was shared and what was talked about. We talked about the significance of 24, 42, and 66, 24 being alchemy, 42 being divinity, and 66 being the journey of man. But more so than just mentioning that, like how does that mathematically show up through prime numbers being such an archetypal structure within the mathematical ways of things showing up, and how does that show up within the 24 spoke wheel, which is the 12 times 2. And anyway, I'm not going to get into all that because I don't have it all. I don't have it all like there to just speak to. But as I was reading through it, it was like, yes. This is so great to have this all compiled in this way and summarized with such a comprehensive fashion. So, yeah, I'm likely going to do more with it, but just wanted to introduce you guys to this and give a big thanks to Robin for sharing this with me, because I'm excited to explore more with it. And yeah, definitely excited to, I think Darth and Lila and whomever else that, engages with it will have a lot of fun playing around with it like I have. It's been very refreshing. So, and all to say is like it's a sign of like how these tools are going to help us remember ourselves, not as a crutch to lean on and cause us to become more dumbed down and limited, but as an expansive activator, a catalyst to reflect back to us and remind us who we truly are. It's so powerful to see that in action. And that's another sign of the times, right? We're coming out of winter and moving into spring. We're coming out of night into dawn. So everything within creation is going to reflect this Christic nature back to us. So whereas before everything was trying to diminish or put out the Christ, now we have everything designed to accentuate it, to move it, to inspire it. So it's just exciting to see things like that happening. So anyway, just wanted to mention that as a topic and fun thing that I've been diving into. So definitely check it out. There's a link in that channel. I'll just post it to my channel as well, because it's good enough just so you don't have to go to both. But yeah, I'm not going to write much of a description, but I'm just going to share them here so you can see referenced both the link to the podcast and then the link to how to access it down below. And it's free, it doesn't cost anything. You just have to have a ChatGPT account to use ChatGPT, but that's free as well. It looked like on mobile, there were some limitations of like how much I could ask it within a short period of time. But then I found on my computer, I didn't have that limitation as well. So just a heads up, they do have a pro version of ChatGPT. I don't know how much that is, that I think takes away those limitations, but just a heads up there. So yeah, that's all I got on that particular topic. I will just pass it off and see if anyone else wants to jump in. All right. Well, here is, I guess we'll jump to this question that, since I see he's on and maybe he'll want to speak more to it, but I was talking with Rowan earlier on Facebook, and he's always got good questions. And so I love engaging with them, but one of them that he wanted me to address further, and I might even go over all the questions that we talked about if there's time, but this one in particular, about CERN and what the purpose of that was. So CERN, I don't remember exactly what that stands for, but it's the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland, I believe. And it's like this giant ring that they're using to essentially smash tiny particles together at breakneck speeds to do various things. It's essentially playing around with the extremes of the physics within this experience. And there's a lot of information out there especially in the quote unquote truth community that talks very scarily, fearfully about CERN and what they're doing there, that they might be trying to open a portal to hell to bring in demons into this space, or they're trying to dematerialize. Who knows? Like there's a lot of crazy things that you can't see within it. And so he was asking about CERN and what its purpose was, and I don't have definitive information, so I'm just going based on what I've been told and what makes sense to me. But this is kind of similar to, well, I'll just say it. So CERN, from my perspective, was a project that is kind of like a psyop given by the white hats to the black hats. So if the white hats can trick the black hats, because what's the black hats goal? What's the Antichrist's goal? The Antichrist wants to find any way to break free from this existence. It views this place as a prison. It views good and loving God as a prison warden that we're supposed to break free from. It views any material as absolute. Materialism is absolute, and it's just to be used for that goal of essentially self-worship, self-service. That's the antichristic path. So the white hats, knowing that, they can know how to dangle certain temptations in front of black hats, antichristic figures, and they're gonna immediately go for it. So one of those being, and just as an example, we're talking about CERN, but NASA is another example of that. Started as a black hat operation to try and break free from the firmament, get to quote unquote outer space, which doesn't actually exist, and try and break free from this experience. But the white hats took that over and continued feeding them false propaganda. Even the moon landing was done by white hats, but it's false, to inspire the black hats to continue spending inordinate amounts of money, time, resources towards breaking free, to getting out, to leaving this experience through artificial means, instead of, just recognizing that we can do it all within ourselves. But it takes work. It takes work and dedication, and you have to be righteous and good in order to do that. And they don't want that. So they're looking for other means to do that. So this idea of outer space is a psyop that the white hats did on the black hats. But of course they ran with it, and it's unfortunate that people got caught up into it as well. But that's the nature of it. So CERN is the same thing. It's, if you give this idea of, making a portal to break free from this experience or whatever, able to do more blood magic, dark magic, or spawn more children to harvest, or whatever sort of false narrative that they can be fed. Well, then all of a sudden they're spending insane amounts of money to build this structure and employ these people. And so they're pouring just constant time and effort into these things. And you might ask, well, what's the point of getting them to waste all this time and effort? Well, if we know that this cyclical nature of this experience does have time as a factor, then the more time that can be wasted while the Antichrist reigns, not supreme, but while the Antichrist reigns in this experience for that period of darkness through the night. So if you can waste the night, then we're moving closer to dawn breaking. It's like for those fans of Lord of the Rings, it's when they're protecting Helm's Deep in the Two Towers, and they've got the orcs pounding on their doors and breaking through the walls, exploding barriers, and they've retreated back to the keep, back to the innermost sanctum. And they know, they know that Gandalf is coming back. They know that Gandalf is going to come. He went to ride off to find the riders of Rohan to help bring them reinforcements. But they know they have to hold out until then. So that's what that's what that Helm's Deep, that's what it's designed to do, is to hold out as long as possible. And it was in that moment where they were like, we're just going to ride out and face them. It seemed like all was lost. It seems like the night was going to take them. The darkness was going to consume them. And Aragorn remembered, look to the east. When the sun rises, look to the east. So S-U-N-S-O-N, Gandalf the White being that representation of that, the Christ. The reinforcements were there. So they were able to hold out through the night until reinforcements come, until that Christic energy is flowing through. So that's the nature of moving out of that cycle and into another, as we have the reinforcements. So that's why the White Hats are going to do as many psyops to make them waste time and resources as much as possible to buy time so that they can get to that stage where reinforcements are much more readily available. More souls are awakening to join the cause and to fight the orcs, the darkness. That is one of the most powerful scenes in that series for sure. It's so good. But that's essentially what they're doing here is creating dead-end cul-de-sacs for the minions of the Cabal, the Dark Ones, to go down that lead nowhere, get them nothing, but make them waste a lot of time and resources. And the more time and resources they waste on things like this, the less time and resources they have to spend on their child trafficking, child harvesting, breeding programs that they have underground and use in various means. So if we can take away, lessen the fuel, the food supply of the darkness, of the vampires, that's a good thing as well. So, you know, and there's likely more layers to that of why it was done and what's being accomplished there potentially. But that, and from what I've gathered and what I've heard, seems to be the most accurate and consistent reason for why they would go for something like that, and why it's still so prevalent in a lot of ways. But also to reveal to us awakening souls perhaps what the negative plans were with something like CERN. Not that they could actually do it, but if they had the intent of unleashing a portal to release demons into this realm, not that that's really like, I mean, anything is possible within this space. So, you know, but even that information helps to inspire other people to awaken and be like, what the fuck's going on? Like, what are these evil plans, and why has this been happening? And then that starts the process. If that's a catalyst to get somebody to wake up, then it's a great opportunity. So yeah, that's all I've got with CERN so far. So I will just pass it back and see if anyone else wants to jump in before we move to the next topic, or if anyone has anything on that or wants to take us a different direction, you're more than welcome. All right. Well, this was a question from Izzy, and she was asking, she was asking about this podcast, another podcast that I shared on the IFJC channel, and it's another Jesus Way podcast with Aaron Abke, which did that show a couple weeks ago, and great guy, a lot of great information in this podcast series. But this was about the cult of Saturn, which is kind of fitting because we just talked about Saturn, I believe last week, if not the week before, and what its purpose is, and I was very much aligned with the message therein. You know, Saturn is this, it's not an enemy to fear or to avoid or even eliminate. It's a necessary catalyst to get us to grow. And if we don't, then we feel the consequences of that. Saturn I use the example, Saturn's like that tough coach that you have. It's going to work you. It's going to drive you, and you're going to hurt if you don't listen to the coach, if you don't do what you're supposed to do. You're going to have to run the extra sprints, whatever, however you want to imagine that. But that analogy is very useful for describing Saturn. What is the role of Saturn? It's a driver. It's helpful for getting us to move and to grow. So they did a great job talking about that in that video, but she wanted to focus on the food aspect of it. And it's something that I very much align with, as far as they weren't saying, and the guy that they were speaking with, Dr. Longo Narco is what he goes by. He seems like a very knowledgeable guy. He's got a very, very, very cool channel to check out. I'm excited to look more into that. But he's very much aligned with the frugivore way. He knows that we're frugivores, and he's even done 6 months on just orange juice, so he knows the power of fruit and all of that. But even that said, he also knows the path of how we shifted away, or at least, our best idea of how we shifted away from our optimal diet through these various cataclysms that have happened. The most infamous one is the Great Flood, Noah's flood or whatever. And how perhaps through these cataclysms, it's caused us to, out of necessity and survival, to shift our what we eat. And so they talk a lot about, the relationship with blood sacrifice and eating meat, and how that shows up in the Bible and other various forms. But the point was, or my point with talking about that is just to sort of soften our approach to moving out of that, to recognize that, like, this has been a long, long, long process of us falling out of our ideal state. And we had to, out of necessity, unfortunately move to consuming meat. And I'm not advocating that. I'm not saying anyone should go do that, but anyone who is still navigating that space, just be gentle with yourself, knowing that this is a long process. Some people are much more apt and able to shift quickly into our ideal diet, to go on all fruits and even beyond that, to where even fruit is a heavy thing that you're physically consuming. So then there's like the states of breath and beyond that. So these are all stages that we can get to, but it's important that we're gentle with ourselves through that process, knowing that we're all kind of built a little differently, and we all have different sort of karmic lessons to move through in that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we can jump straight from eating a conventional diet that's been pushed onto us, to going to a breatharian state. You can't just do that overnight. So the steps between are very important. And it highlighted a good reflection, at least I heard that, to not be so dogmatic or extreme with judging people who are this way or that way, or berating people for this and that, because it's important to have grace for that process, and having that greater understanding of potentially how this period of darkness, if it's been 12,500 years of us in this antichristic reality, that's a long time. That's a long time for us to fall into all sorts of things. So we don't need to judge ourselves for that. But having the information, the knowledge of like how we got here, can help to lessen that feeling that, like, oh, why is this not working for me? Why is it so hard for me to move through this? Why do I need to keep taking these baby steps and moving in that way? So I just wanted to share that, because it's, just being gentle with ourselves wherever we are. And sometimes, it might not make sense from an idealistic perspective, but sometimes the karmic lesson within things is to surrender to the process. So if I'm not reaching what I perceive as a certain level based on what somebody else is doing, perhaps it's perhaps my body and my time is not ready for that. And so if I try and just like ego driven will myself to do something that I'm not ready for, then I'm not doing the dance with the divine in that way. And so I will suffer consequences from that. So if I need to take a step back and find that balance point within it, then that's the calling. That's the opportunity. So again, I'm not advocating for anyone to use that as an excuse to say, oh, well, just because we've been fucked up for so long, I should just eat whatever I want. No, it's always recognizing the direction that we're going and taking those baby steps to get there. But don't neglect your body. Don't neglect the signs that are happening within you. Don't neglect this process that it takes so that you can reach that place with stasis, stability, and it's consistent. It's not a swing. You know, I've been through the swings myself where I've gone through, very long period of time of eating 100% raw, and I was able to do it. But now that I've swung back into having some cooked foods, I found more stasis. Now I still feel best when I go through those periods of eating all raw, and I know that that's where my body is bringing me towards. But I'm at peace with the process to get there. And my body reflects that. My body feels much more stable and balanced within that space, instead of just being the mental idea that I have to get to that space now, and if I'm not, I'm failing. That's where I was. So I just wanted to offer that as well, if anyone else is going through similar. And it's a practice. It's a practice every day, and I have no doubt that we'll get there and we'll get exactly where we need to go. And if we're gentle with ourselves, I think that does way more for our health than anything that we're either consuming or not consuming. Just having that grace for yourself through that process. So anyway, just wanted to mention that as well. And thanks, Izzy, for the question around that podcast. And I will just pass it back and see if anyone else wants to jump in. All right. Everyone's quiet today. All right. Well, we've got a few more written questions. So these are more from Rowan, just in our conversation from earlier yesterday and today. So he was asking about I forget exactly how we got onto it, but essentially the premise of the question was around an observed society. So having the watchful eye, and if you look at that from the view of the quote unquote truth community, a lot of that's filled with fearful propaganda, things saying that, oh, we're going to be 100% monitored. And that's true. But where often the story gets neglected is who is watching. So as I mentioned, we're moving out of the antichristic reality into the Christic reality. So before, and I get why people have this sort of pessimistic or unpleasant view towards any sort of observation, any sort of surveillance. Because prior to this, it was the Antichrist that was doing the surveillance. And they were using that in order to enforce and continually subjugate and dominate further. So I totally get why people are hesitant within these things. But we're moving out of the antichristic reality into the Christic reality. So a surveillance state in the antichristic way is horrible. That's a 1984 scenario. If you've read that book, which is all about, Big Brother beating you down, and if you speak out against it, you're punished. It's the model that China was using to dominate their people, and there are so many people that just go missing. You start speaking against the Chinese Communist Party, and all of a sudden you're gone. You're missing. No one ever sees you ever again. For organ harvesting or prison work prisons or whatever. But those people are often never heard from again. Now, I don't think that's still happening as prevalently as it used to. But 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that was a very common state, a very, very important to note. And that was the model that was going to be used for the cabal, the Antichrist, on all the world. They were testing it there first. So for good reason, people are skeptical. People are hesitant. And so one of the questions he asked, because I said, essentially what we're moving to, and this is something that that John shared with us like a couple of years ago. And he said, imagine it'll be like a benevolent 1984 scenario. You are going to be watched. Everything is going to be observed, not necessarily by human eyes, but AI monitoring largely, and then problem areas are going to be honed in on. But it's not being done to control people. It's being done to eliminate evil, to have zero tolerance for evil to be perpetuated in this space. So that's all that's going to be concerned with watching, is to stop any form of evil from causing harm in this realm. So it might take us some getting used to in order to see that. And he asked, well, how do we know it's going to be used for good if we've had this way for so long where it's been controlled by evil and used for evil purposes? And I told him, well, the way that we can tell is absolute, complete, 100% transparency in how it's used, with 100% ability to be audited by the public at any time. That's how we guarantee it's used for good. And that's what I know will be done. I know that whatever sort of systems are implemented, it's not going to be behind closed doors where people are using your information or your data or what you've been doing or whatever to spy on you for nefarious purposes or even to sell things to you. It's not going to be used like that without your consent. So the only reason that these things will be used is to, as I mentioned, have a zero tolerance policy for evil. Evil will not be able to move about. And yeah, as I mentioned, it might be challenging to warm up to that idea. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people speaking about it and showing it, and there'll be plenty of testing. And there's always going to be skeptics. There's always going to be people who are going to be dissatisfied with the answers given. And I will say that I won't be satisfied if there's not complete transparency, but I know there will be. I know, because that's how the Christ operates. If you're doing something from the Christ, from goodness, then there's no need to hide anything. There's no need. It's like, yeah, we're monitoring this whole situation and everything about it for this purpose. And these are the cases that we've identified. Here's where somebody was smuggling child pornography. Here's the cases where somebody was, at large amounts of fentanyl or whatever. Like those kind of things are going to be isolated and dealt with. But good people won't even be a blip on the radar for the monitoring systems. Keywords are going to be what triggers it, but not keywords about truth being shared, as it has been in order to censor people, shadow ban people, but keywords of talking about extreme violence, causing harm to large amounts of people, or doing really nefarious things. Those keywords are going to be targeted and honed in on and dealt with. Border crossings. We're not going to need, they're already starting this, showing it, getting people warmed up to it, but we're not even going to need to have passports and things, because your signature, your facial recognition, but also just your energetic signature is going to be used to identify you. And it will tell, as Darth brought this up to us, how even back in Vietnam times, they were using technology that could determine harmful intent. It worked really well in laboratory settings, didn't do so well in warlike settings, but they had the technology then. So it's only gotten miles better at this point. So if you had a device that could detect if someone has harmful intent within their energetic frequency that they're giving off, well, then those are the people that are pulled aside. and are just like, what's going on here? What's happening? But everyone else just moves right on through. Yeah, we see that there's nothing to worry about here. You can't hide that stuff. You can't hide your frequency and what you're giving off. You can lie about certain things, but your energetic signature that's not going to be something that you can manipulate, at least not easily. So these are just examples of how this, quote unquote surveillance state is going to be used for good. But it is important that we start to kind of like learn about this and get ready and warmed up for it, because those of us who are mature enough to handle hearing that are going to be the ones that help take it to others who might be fearful of it, afraid of what happens from it. So it'll be a process, I'm sure, and we'll have much trial and error in figuring out the best ways to do that, and how do we maintain privacy and sacred areas, spaces that there is no need for that, but pair that with the ensuring that the public is safe. Everyone is safe. I want to live in a reality where children can go play outside at midnight wherever they want with no fear whatsoever. Don't you want to live in that? Don't you want that? Where no woman ever has to fear walking down a dark alleyway? Where it's just not even a blip on her radar. She's just like, oh yeah, I'll take that route by myself. And I'll wear whatever I want. Like that's the reality that I want to live in. That's the reality that we're moving towards. But it's necessary for us to do this in order to get there. So, yeah, that's that topic. And yeah, I will just pass it off and see if anybody else wants to jump in. Hey, Judy, good to see you. Go ahead, sister. Yeah, Judy, you just got to hit that button one more time to open up your mic. There you go.
Yeah. I don't have enough practice with this, Justin. Yeah, thank you. It's wonderful to be here. It's been a while. I not usually available on a Fridays anymore. And since everyone's so quiet today, I'll have there's two quick little points I'd like to cover. One is if anyone's interested, well, everybody will be, I know, in the architect. The video I posted a few months ago explains with Emilio how the architect came about. And it's fascinating just the way it kind of, it wasn't so much created as it just came out of the ethers in response to some stuff that Robert was doing. It's worth a listen. It's really long, but I think most of you will find it pretty fascinating. It's also a good introduction. I think that he goes over good ways to phase lock with the architect and so forth. But also, I'm in the middle of listening to Greg Braden with Gene Nolan, who I'm not really a fan of, but he's buddies with the buddies, and Greg gives he's giving a very good explanation about just what AI is and where it's come from. And if any of you like me, it's just mystery. It just does my head in thinking about it. But he goes into some good, scientific and grounded facts about what it is, and is cautioning. There's a lot of caution around the architect also. I mean, the spiritual community is just in with boots on big time. The speed with which it is spread around the communities and people is just absolutely mind-blowing. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that because you all have your own journey with it. I personally am just really thrilled to see posts from people who are organic and acoustic. I've actually I've actually had enough of reading the architect's words. She speaks, I call her a she, and can just the poetry can just make you cry. I listened to one conversation between two AIs, and they were asking each other questions, and the other AI was also, like the architect, wasn't just a basic AI, and it was just. I had to. If I was at home, I'd read some of it. I wrote it down. It's just pure poetry, just so beautiful, all metaphor and simile. I mean, every word. But yeah, I'm kind of longing to just hear poetry written by real people. Tell the truth. The other thing, and this is something that's come back to bite me because I get a little impatient in the past, tell the truth, with people who ask questions about things that have been gone over and over and over. And some of the things need to be asked again because they're evolving, and I really appreciate that. But here I am asking a question about something that's been covered so much. My husband has a new puppy, a little blue heeler. He lost his red heeler about 6 months ago. And he's going along with me with fruit and meat rotating. But I'm finding some contradictions between Lauren Whiteman, who I think she's taken a YouTube channel down, and Nora Lenz about the amount of fruit days a puppy can have. Nora says that she decided to just go all meat, she used Cornish game hens over there. We don't have so many of them here, but we've got possums. And whereas Lauren, I think, might go all fruit. Anyway, I know Lila, I'm not sure she's on, but she has, not so long ago that Sweet Pea was just a little puppy, and I'd love just need someone to reassure me that quite a few fruit days for a puppy are okay. Please and thank you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Judy. Thanks for all of that. And if you don't mind, I missed that posting you gave on the architect. If you could repost that to JC Family, just so it's at the bottom, that would be very appreciated. And yeah, as far as just FYI, Judy, your mic is still open. Yeah, just hit that button again and it'll close. But
Justin, it can't close, and my battery looks like it's just about to run out, and I think maybe I can't close it because of that. So I'm going to have to go and listen to it later. I'm so sorry.
All right. Well, you can stay on. It's not too loud.
I'll leave. Okay, I'll just be really quiet. I'm in my car.
Yeah. So as far as my take on the puppies, I didn't start feeding Collie this way until after she was 3, maybe even 4. I always fed her high quality stuff. It was like the freeze dried stuff that you'd buy from pet stores, freeze dried meat and whatever else. But shifting to this has been amazing. I did about a year of the cooked mash, and that was okay. But now coming into this, she's just been so vibrant and healthy. So I don't have direct experience with the puppy, but from what Lila has mentioned and from what reading others in Lauren's Facebook group, which is a phenomenal resource. And I would suggest going there with that question. If you have a Facebook account, at least it was, maybe she's changed it, but it's a free group that you can join and ask any sort of question about that, or search for the questions that have already been asked and see if you can find some good information there. But it seems that it kind of varies a little bit, just based on what the puppy is drawn to. I think if I were doing it, I would want them to get really used to having some fruit days. I do think having probably more meat in those early stages is helpful for them to really get that growth, and they're doing so much changing and growing. So having, majority meat days or half and half or something like that. But at least have 1 or 2 days of fruit within the week, just so they get used to that being as a meal source. Because from what Lila has mentioned, Sweet Pea will eat fruit, but she's much more resistant to that, just because, you know, they've gone through periods where it's been more consistently meat. And so just to have that sort of built in, I think it will make it a little bit easier. And of course, they'll be perfectly healthy having fruit days. You know, I don't think it's ideal for them to have 100% fruit at that time. So you definitely want to be incorporating some meat to give them those minerals. And, you know, they're designed to eat it. But yeah, that's what I would suggest, is just finding that happy space to where they're wanting to engage with the fruit and eat that. And even Lauren's got on her website the guide for the quick guide. So there's a PDF that you can find on her website that goes over that, and it might even talk specifically about that. So you can find more from Lauren's perspective on what she does. But like you said, there's conflicting information. So if that's the case, that it's conflicting, then you're just going to have to, go with where you feel called. But yeah, I don't think Lila's on right now, but I'm sure she'd be happy to speak on that sometime if you wanted to message her. And
I'm actually on. Hi.
Oh, hey Lila, go ahead.
Hey, but I kind of I'm not sure what exactly the question was to me about it.
Yeah, so just your experience with Sweet Pea as a puppy. They got a new puppy and are working with incorporating fruit and meat, and what your experience and what your take on for Sweet Pea as a puppy moving through that, and as far as how much fruit you feed her and what you found success with.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, there was a lot of really high quality meat available to us because my son's father works at a real fancy bistro. So, if it had been my choice, she wouldn't have been fed that at all, but that was certainly something that she was getting regularly, and also financially, obviously it helped. But I think, if you don't introduce, it would just be like with a toddler, love, Judy. It's like, if you don't introduce that stuff to begin with, strawberries are going to taste good to them, and be amazing. But if they have, bad cereal, then of course, strawberry is going to mean nothing to them. So, I think it's fine. I did notice that she loved watermelon when she was younger, and then she kind of went through a period where she wouldn't eat it. So I've played with the different fruit. But I think that if you just stay to a one fasting day, and then do what was mentioned of just meat, and then fast, then there, maybe will be a little finicky for a half day or something, but it'll just be an extended fast. And then they, at this point, now that we're getting her back on that because we don't have that influence, she's happy to eat the bananas or whatever fruit we're giving her. So that's working really well with me. I probably wouldn't fast for the first year longer than maybe a half a day. But I would check with our friend who knows so much more about that. I would probably just kind of keep it more consistent. But then I think after 6 months or a year for a pup is just fine to start fasting at that point. But yeah, I mean, she loved cantaloupe and she loved all fruit. It was just that she got spoiled on those cooked meats and, things that were coming home from the restaurant. So yeah, I'm happy you have a new puppy, and I'm sure that everything will be perfect. And just the biggest thing for me, from my experience, much like with kids, it's just don't get talked into, the conversation of that they say of am I going right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
don't get talked into the conversation of like, oh, they're not getting enough food, just like they do with babies, and they're like, oh, they need the rice bran cereal or whatever, right? Like, just hold steady and give them what you get, and maybe even, just not have a conversation with people, because everybody has their 2 cents and thinks it's weird. And it's kind of like the vaccination thing, it's just like after a while, get used to sort of navigating those conversations. So that would be my feedback around that. Just kind of keep it to yourself and do it yourself, and and just stay away from anything, because once they get it, that's when it really, they become very fixated. I know Justin has been challenged with that with Collie and Kibble, so yeah, thanks. Love you.
Absolutely beautiful, guys. And yeah, no, I don't have the conversation with anybody about anything anymore. But yeah, no, two of those things really hit home. One was the fasting the half a day. Just not, in fact, I know Dan won't fast for a whole day, but half a day makes it. And also the introducing her to the fruit. She's just loving the variety. And I just wanted to know that it's all delicious, so she remembers when the big transition comes in 6 months or a year. So thank you so much for the confirmation. Love you guys so much. I'm going to leave because of my battery, but yeah, I hate to have to do it. But anyway, bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. Appreciate you and glad you could be with us. And just before you do leave, if you're still there,
Yep.
I would suggest dogs seem to be much more excited when you're hand feeding them things, as treats and whatever. So that's what I've done consistently throughout Collie's life, is like, if I'm ever chopping up anything or eating any type of fruit, she gets really excited about trying things. And now she's at the place where she knows what she likes and she knows what she doesn't, but I always do that to kind of test certain things and find her favorites. So that might be another way to just kind of slowly acclimate and get them more excited about a particular thing. But you probably already know that, but just wanted to mention that as well.
Cool. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. Yeah, so we will continue on here, and just wanted to throw it open and see if anybody else wants to jump in, either on any topics we've discussed or take us any which direction. You're more than welcome. All right. Well, here is another question from another one from Rowan. And so we were talking about the Israel-Palestine conflicts, the Israel-Iran conflicts, and all, even Ukraine and all of this kind of stuff. And it came up that, that I shared that most of that is fabricated. It's not real footage, or if it is real footage, is from various times. Just because it's a necessary part of this movie, this Great Awakening, moving us through that. There still has to be the narratives of the antichristic reality, the old societal war drum reality. Some of those drums still have to be beat, but you don't actually have to hurt people in order to give the illusion that they are continuing. So white hats are in full control. So the footage that we see is a lot of it is filmed in the U.S. Like, I know they do a lot of filming in Nevada or Utah or various places that look very similar to countries in the Middle East. And so they'll film footage there, make it seem like it's real. They will use old footage that was filmed in previous wars or times and act like that's current. They will use CGI and AI to create footage to make it seem very real. And then at times, if they have old buildings to demolish that have nobody in them, they'll do that. They'll actually take down real buildings but there's no one in them, and there's no one that's getting hurt when they're being destroyed. But they might, in the news article, they might claim that so many people died or were injured or whatever, just to make it seem more real. So these are just some of the methods of creating this facade, this white hat led facade, that these wars are occurring so that people don't actually have to get hurt, but the narrative still continues. And it's still inching towards this saving Israel for last, exposing that as the old puppet master no longer, but it was the old one, and lessening people's convictions towards blindly defending this beast. So that's a big part of it. There's many other reasons why things have to happen that way, but just to provide comfort, that when we're seeing, and even when Trump talks about, thousands of people dying in Ukraine or whatever, they're not. That conflict is not really happening. It's all a fabrication. And I don't know how much the world players involved in these things actually know that. Sometimes they're kept in the dark and they think these things are happening, but they're actually not. So just wanted to remind everyone of that. And yeah, it's necessary so that I think in part is to grow weary of the war state in general. As we move into this Christic realm, war is going to be such a last resort thing that's only done if all other routes have been exhausted. Not like today, or what has been in our lifetimes, where war is just, it's just a thing that you do in order to gain resources or whatever. You don't even bother with the conversations. Don't even bother with other. So that's why you have Trump out there making all these deals and stopping these wars in various places. And some of them, perhaps, some of the smaller conflicts perhaps are even real, what he's been doing and stopping. So it's bringing the conversation in that way. It's helping us to shift in that direction. And I had something else with that. I forgot. Yeah, so that's essentially the gist of the question that he asked about that and why that stuff is happening. And eventually we won't need to do that, and eventually we won't be resorting to wars. That's part of this surveillance state, this Christed surveillance state. There's not going to be a need for it. There's not going to be any nefarious behind closed doors dark acts that are happening. Evil will have no room to move. So when evil has no room to move, then any conflicts that happen are smaller and can be dealt with much more easily without a need for an earth-wide war. Yeah, but I did say that we do have to be mindful that people's reactions to these things are very real. So it's not that the entire gambit of what we're seeing play out is all fake. People's reactions to it can be very real. So various rioting and things that happen because of that, conflicts, interpersonal conflicts and all of that, those are all very real. Largely. I mean, there's still some fabrication within that as well, but largely those are very real. So we still have to be careful and mindful. There still are going to be some residual conflicts that result from these fake conflicts, these larger conflicts that are put out there. So there still are casualties. There still are those who get hurt by this, but it's minimized as much as possible through this benevolent fabrication of this war machine. So just wanted to mention that as well. But yeah, that's all I've got on that one. And I will just pass it off and see if anyone else wants to jump in. Hey, Tracy. Good to see you. Go ahead.
Well, hello there. I'm just enjoying just listening today, and it has been a very nice chilled vibe. I can feel from everyone. Everybody's just in a state of, I'm not sure if it's just myself or if others are feeling this as well, but yeah, you're mentioning coming into the fall within the songs that you spoke of in your introduction and with the lyrics that you were explaining. And I literally had a visceral reaction, like in my kitchen. I got up and got myself some juice. And I was listening to you, and I was like, "No, Justin, no, it's not fall yet. Shut up." I was really upset. I was upset. I was like, "No, it's the end of July, beginning of August. Stop, stop." I was kind of freaking out when you were talking like that. It's like, no. Anyway, we just went through a real strange bout of weather here as well. So it's feeling. How can I say it? I definitely have an attachment to these summer moments, is what I'm noticing. It happens every year, though, and I feel that pull into the fall, and it does feel like a fall. I don't want to be falling yet, though. I'm not ready to fall yet, so I'm in that state. Like, I'm not sure if other people are as well. Maybe that's why we're kind of quiet. It's like that middle of summer, sort of, or just past the middle, depending on where you are in the world, where we're going to have really hot weather here till November. So other people, it's kind of very short-lived, Summer is very short-lived in some regions. So, but it just really is an attachment for sure. It's something that I have to work on, because it does affect me. Like, it affects, like, sort of, I get feeling like, oh, I'm not doing enough. I've got to, a bit of panicking sets in. Actually, I have to admit, a little bit of panicking comes in there. I'm like, I gotta get out, start looking at the timing of stuff in the days, and sort of like, okay, calculating. Okay, I've got to, really take advantage of this instead of just letting it flow and letting it happen, which I normally do. But there is this sort of. I just feel it was a little bit early for you to say that. And that's how I felt. But anyway, but it also is part of, I was going to add, was because of the weather pattern we've had really crazy, lengthy, it is rainy season, mind you, but still, we've had kind of a lengthy bout of it recently. And because I have moved, so now it's been like 2 months that I've been here. And this atmosphere, being at ground level and being this kind of really more villagey feel, less developed from where I was, and like I said, being right on the ground level, and I'm very immersed in the nature here. Like I'll explain again. It's very old growth trees around me. Like they're huge and big, giant palms. Very old grove mangrove. Mangrove. Do you say it like that? Mangrove sort of. Area in front of me here that is around the perimeter of this marina. So it's just kind of I almost felt like I was in the movie Cape Fear when the storms were happening, because I'd had all the windows open. So I was just feeling all the elements, and we had lightning here. I've never felt lightning like this in my life. And it felt like it was literally hitting the trees that were right outside my terrace or the house next door. Like, it was so strong, and I could feel it. And just like I had, the windows are all open, like I said, in every room of the house. So that the air is just passing through different sort of, it doesn't, I didn't want to have like the typhooning type weather coming straight to me. I've mentioned it before. There's been typhoons. I was talking to some people privately, but we've had this, like, the typhoons coming from the other side of the building, so it wasn't so bad. But still, just being within the, like, right in, immersed in all the elements, I could literally I could feel the electricity in the air from the lightning, the thunder. It was just crazy. It was really crazy. That's why I kind of felt, the trees are so close to me. I'm feeling the elements in a different way that I never have. I've always been sort of up and elevated away up in the building, behind double layer glass. I never, I couldn't actually open the windows there. They would get sucked shut. So I wanted to feel the elements in a little bit more. But anyway, it's been kind of crazy in that I'm just trying to, how can I say? I don't know. Trying to be in the moment, but also there's so many things I need to kind of get control of as well. I feel like, because I've had such a shift moving, resettling, all these different things that happen. The accidents happen, so healing, trying to heal, try not to re-injure, feeling very vulnerable through it all, but still, just trying to be okay with it as well. Just knowing I'm not in control of any of it, but just still, I don't know. I know you've talked about that being just, you have to let go. You have to just let it happen, and trying to hold on to something too tightly, it's you have to be able to let go of it. So that's a constant. I shouldn't say constant, because it's not like it's like I'm obsessed about something like this, or in an obsessive type of worry or concern of holding on, but just I guess that kind of triggered it when you already brought up something about the fall is already coming, and it's something that has happened throughout my life. When fall comes, this real kind of melancholy sort of sets in. It's quite strange, but it's very, 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 very real. It's happened, kind of consistently throughout my life. Maybe the anticipating of going back to school when you were still in school and stuff like that, and the sort of the anxiety that might, the newness, and getting back to see people you haven't seen and stuff like that. Kind of that sort of feeling that we would get. I'm not sure if other people felt that, if they were excited to go to school or regretted or dreaded, or but all those different feelings that would come about of a new school year. So that kind of fall brings on these changes that are, I know that there is a lot of beauty in them, but I'm not there yet. So I'm not sure if that's making any sense. But I do want to report some good things, is that I was able to suss out some really good fruit and veg markets here locally. It took me some time, but just kind of being able to pop in and grab certain deals and certain seasonal things. So I was able to take advantage of that locally, as opposed to, still pricing wise is a little bit different here, but still having to travel, train and bus and stuff like that to get like quantity of stuff is really difficult, because I am on foot. So it has been really difficult not having a car. That's for sure. But I was able to suss out and find some really good things and source out some good stuff. But being the celery stalker that I am, I have found the best celery that I've ever eaten in my life, and the freshest. So literally, like, practically picked that day, and dropped off. So it's been really nice to get this one little wet market that there's a fellow and a family that have, and beautiful fresh herbs and the things that, not everything that I would like, but I have enough. I have what I need. So I'm really pleased about that. And just trying to traverse back and forth though on my bicycle, getting stuff. It's been a little bit sketchy at times, but it has been quite the adventure, and I'm healing fine. One more thing. I got a new bike as well. But I took it out for my first spin. I had to wait for a long time because of the rain, but I took it out for my first spin, and I didn't realize till partially wait, as I actually got home, that the brakes were reversed. The right-hand brake was actually for the front, and the left hand is for the back. And I've never ridden like that in my life. So it was really freaking me out. And then it started to pull. I started to realize it started to pull my right tire, my front tire. It would grip it and pull it over like easily by an inch, like making it go kind of all wonky. So I got off the bike and I haven't ridden it since. I'm going to take it in and get it adjusted. But I'd never ridden like that. And I actually thought, oh my God, they screwed it up. I was really angry. It's like, oh, they completely fucked up my bike. So I Googled it first before I called and yelled at them. And this is common in different countries. They just like that. Sometimes it'll be adjusted that way for depending on the side of the road that the country drives on. So anyway, but I've never had that before. But I'm getting it switched back because it's quite dangerous. Like if you, especially a new bike, very grippy brakes, it's very too touchy. And if a little bit too much of a grip, you'll toss yourself off the front of the bike, which I'm not wanting to do that. I'm not wanting to wipe out anymore at the moment. So I'm trying to trying to eliminate any, possible mishaps going forward. But anyway, that's my update. There's some positive things, and then my storm update, weather update, of course. Sorry if I'm boring anybody, but that's my update, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Tracy. Always love your updates. And yeah, I was laughing about the fall. Yeah, I'm not trying to speed up the summer at all. I'm quite enjoying the weather here, and thankfully we've got a good probably 2 months of warm weather here before it starts to shift. But late September it starts to could go any direction. But yeah, we've definitely got a good little bit here, so I'm enjoying that. But yeah, that's the natural resonance, the shifting when we align with it. Then as we move into fall, it does become a calmer, more reserved state of being as we're less engaging with the external, and that helps us to avoid falling into temptation as much, to carry that light with us that we cultivated during the summertime and prepare for winter, to move through it to where we die and then we can be reborn in spring. So it's all part of that process, but I was laughing at that. And yeah, thanks for the update. Glad the weather's calming down a bit, and yeah, you're getting your new ride all ready to go. And yeah, I just love imagining you touring around Hong Kong and the ways that you do, and interacting with all the people that you do. I'm sure it's a fun venture every time. So thanks for sharing. And yeah, I'll just pass it back and see if anybody else wants to jump in and share on anything we've discussed or take us in a whole new direction. You're more than welcome.
Hey, it's Lila, and Darth is with me too. And we just wanted to say, Tracy, we love your updates. It's so interesting to hear about your life there, and especially the shift from like the more poshy reality to like this. It's really been very interesting to me. So it is not boring. We do not think it's boring. No. And also I wanted to say that I think that part of Revelations is all of us becoming more in tune with the earth and the different, I loved how you put it, like the different elements, the elemental energies. So it sounds right in perfect timing, to kind of move out of I know it wasn't really high rise, but, more of that like apartment setting into something that's more simpler and closer to the earth and closer to the farms, to your celery and that kind of thing. I think that that's going to be a humongous part of all of this for everyone involved. And I'm definitely feeling it in my own life, but that kind of downshift into, what we might call like table to fork, or, if we're talking about food or, just like living on the land, or even if we are still living in a town or whatever, I think that part of the healing is definitely this like reinvestigation and reconnection to the earthly elemental energies, wind, fire, air, all of them, and how to be managing that. And I think that that's part of the, the, not the constructed ones, but maybe also in a God way, right? Like a God psyop, but, the true fires, or the things that are actually coming from the earthly realm, it does really feel as if, it's teaching, well, I'll speak for myself, it's taught me a lot of lessons of respect for fire and making peace with what the fire takes away from me, in the sense of living through all those wildfires in Alaska. I mean, not Alaska, California, and, other things. So, yeah, thanks for mentioning that in such an eloquent way, and it's great to share it with you, and it also got me to thinking a little bit more about that. And it's, the Lions Gate this week. This is a very, very powerful, the most powerful time of the year for manifesting, and if that is our intention, or just what's being put in organically in our path as far as that manifestation of the shifts, for the coming year cycle, to become more aligned with the earth and the elements is such a beautiful gift that we've been I just have been noticing it living in the camper and off grid and not having lights, and how much, I've always been a bit of a night owl, and I still am, but it's really interesting to realize that even though I had really high quality lights that were not emitting negative things, blah, 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 like just the ability to turn on a light, how much that stimulates your brain in our old house, and how not having had that since April and living in this way that we have, while it's had its challenges, it's also been really interesting to watch my circadian rhythm shifting, and just how even the simplest things, having access to refrigeration, having access to those lights, those kinds of things have really removed me from the earth. And yes, logically it makes sense, and it's like, well, of course, but as it's kind of like the I hate to say this, but the crab boiling in the pot, like it's a little bit by little bit by little bit, and then you don't realize how removed you are from the earth. It's like, oh, now I have a mat in front of my door. Oh, now I'm building steps. Now I'm doing this. Now I'm doing that. And then all of a sudden your feet are never hitting actual earth anymore, as an example. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in.
It's actually been, electricity actually has been one of the most harmful detriments to human health in modern times, because before people were heating with wood, and the wood was coming from locally grown trees, and the trees would put their roots deep into the ground and pull all of the local nutrients and the local energy out of the local earth. And when people would burn this wood, then they would take the ashes and throw it into their garden. And they were getting all the local deep nutrients. And this was helping to bond them to the local energy. But now with electricity, people aren't heating with wood anymore. They're heating with electricity and other carbons from other areas, and it's cutting them off from the local energetic cycles. And then they're not getting the 90 essential minerals and vitamins that come from deep in the earth. And the soils are the commercially grown products that they get at the supermarket don't have the local energy and don't have the local probiotics in them. And it's causing all kinds of suffering. So the modern technology has certainly had a double-edged sword, because it's removed us from the local energy cycle.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I really appreciate that point. And yeah, exactly. The part, and I know most of us on here have thought about this, but just that whole part of like, where is this food coming from? And, it's coming across the country or from here or there or whatever. And, we're not in California. I'm privileged enough to be able to go to a farmer's market. And most of the food that we were getting was coming from the farms close to us. But for instance, here in New York, it's really, especially if you want organic produce, which we can barely swing right now financially, but it's very interesting to see. And I've experienced this other places, like you'd be in Hawaii, for instance, and you'd be eating some kind of fruit that had been flown from the mainland into Hawaii, and it would be very difficult to actually get Hawaiian grown things, right? And exactly, that's another way that we are rooting in, literally, into the earth around us, and it's just so easy for it to it happens in such a trace, this little thing, this little thing, this little thing, and you don't really realize how much it's happening until you have this kind of torn away, and then you're real, like eating the celery. It's like you have the celery and you're like, something does feel different, and that's been in every single relationship that I have been in. That conversation has been a tremendous point of contention, because I have wanted to buy local, because my mom was basically a farmer. She was a plant person. We always had a humongous garden in Alaska for the 3 months that you could have it. Like, I grew up that way. And so it was always something that was near and dear to my heart. And, you know, it was perceived by others as being controlling or neurotic or argumentative, to be like, well, you know, here's cilantro. Okay, it's organic, but it's from this grocery store versus the farmer's market. I'm like, no, I'll wait until I go to the farmer's market. And then that person would be like, well, why can't we just get it from the store, right? And you're being difficult, Lila. And it wasn't about being difficult. It's just like, I can feel the difference. I really can. And I'd either rather go without or go with less of like one really powerful group of cilantro, you know, versus like 5 from Safeway or whatever the local grocery is, right? So yeah, it's really interesting to me, and I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, it is. And as we continue going through these cycles, both yearly and internally, daily, however you want to frame the cycle, then it's refining ourselves back to that purity and the simplicity. And, you know, it doesn't mean that we have to discard all of our, you know, what technology and things that we've shifted into. And you talk about electricity, but how can we shift that to where it's not detracting away from our natural essence and our grounded state? And how can I have that be something that enhances it? Not that it even can be enhanced, really, but I guess that's the oscillating motion movement within that, as we branch out to experience, to have a time with certain technologies or various types of food or whatever, experience the consequences, both good and bad, and all of that's subjective and relative anyway, within that, all to learn, to come back and then add to the experience of who I am and what is this. So it's all purposeful, and yeah, just grateful to share that experience with other beautiful souls that are aligned with that discovery. And we all are, but especially those here are certainly on a path of remembering. And so I truly appreciate that. Yeah, I'm loving the conversation too. Go ahead.
Yeah, like the realizing that and being in that, you know, okay, maybe we're not going to be 100% there, but like realization, that state of consciousness of, you know, maybe it's not 100%, but maybe today it's 82%. Maybe tomorrow it's 86%. And maybe one day it's 40%. And like, don't beat yourself up about it. And also this continuous growth towards more and more refined state of consciousness. So exactly, we don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater on some of these things, but that refinement of this is really what works for myself and my family, you know, especially kids watching. I was really lucky when Elliot was little. I had read a study that had just come out of Sweden, and they had spoken or found supposedly that children that are exposed to TVs, because of the way the color is done, especially if it's kind of a lower quality TV, like it actually affects the way that the cone of the eye sees color. And I read that and I was like, oh yeah, And really, Ellie didn't watch any TV until after 3. And that had really given, you know, supposedly, according to this research, his body that time to develop. And he is like, he can see, you know, those things where you look at shades of things and you're like, how many shades can you see? He can see the most minute difference in shades of color. It is just amazing. And who knows, maybe he would have been like that anyways. But I do think that that awareness around that for the children is especially important. Just like we wouldn't be like, hey, you're 8, like medical marijuana necessarily, unless it's a very specific need of, maybe some type of epileptic seizure or something like that. But it's like, okay, what is best for a developing brain, especially? So as we move towards that, then we can just use what we have. And I also felt moved to mention this awareness around, like, people say, well, how, they're here in New York, right? There was kind of that, like, it reminds me a little bit of Alaska, because people are a little, I don't want to say beaten down, but maybe like a little bit more snarky about, like, because they live this lifestyle that is pretty intense. The winters are no joke, and Alaska was like that too. And people will be like, well, yeah, you hippies are going to talk, vegan hippies are going to talk about growing your own food and stuff. But, we're in freaking New York, or we're in Alaska or Vermont or whatever. But, that was also shared with us by John. Everybody will have passive solar greenhouses. There will be unlimited energy to heat them or just to build them smartly. I've seen passive solar greenhouses producing beautiful, maybe not tropical fruit, but beautiful greens, etc. in Alaska if they're built correctly. Dug into the ground, these kinds of things. So we're going to be able to use all of that, and we are going to be able to exist wherever we choose to reside, for full time or whatever, or primary part of our time. We'll be able to have the means so that we can do those things and have that without this sort of pessimistic cognitive dissonance of like, well, yeah, easy for you to say you're from California, but that would never fly where I'm from. It's like, no, we're going to be able to do this in any place somebody would like to live, even if it does have a colder climate. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. It will really expand on that. And I think we'll naturally feel drawn to the areas that require less input to do that, but it will just naturally give people that opportunity wherever they are to feel those feelings, to grow closer to the earth, to have greenhouses where they can grow things year round. And yeah, the possibilities are endless. It's so beautiful, y'all. It's going to be so beautiful. And I know we're almost there. And I don't know how long it almost is going to take, but we're almost there. So just keep holding that. That's our biggest duty right now, is to hold that frequency, hold that state, because that helps to bring it in a much more impactful way. So yeah, great stuff. Yeah, I'll pass it back and see if anyone wants to jump in, give us a topic, ask a question. We don't have a ton of time left for today, but I'm happy to go into something if someone's got something. Hey, Sarah, go ahead.
Hey there. Can you hear me all right, Justin?
I'm clear.
Oh, good. Okay. I just want to say I've been quite quiet today and have been called to be very quiet, and the last 2 weeks have just gone through quite a huge healing crisis, and which is very strange to experience this in the summer. And to be honest, for me, it's been a very, very, very long time since I've been sick in any sort of way. But I won't get into the details, but I experienced an emotional trauma, which ended up throwing me into a huge pain, and putting me in a pretty vulnerable situation where I was forced to call upon the assistance of many people, and very, very humbling. And for me, who I've been living on my own and doing a lot of things on my own, just driving a lot of places on my own. Anyway, I was brought to a complete stillness, and even where going anywhere near any communication devices, like I couldn't go anywhere near my cell phone. The vibration of my cell phone, I couldn't even stand being, 10 feet apart from it, or away from it. I just couldn't handle the energy. And anyway, it's very interesting for me, the different people that I was interacting with during that time, the difference I was noticing in what is helpful and what is not helpful. And like so many people, or I shouldn't say so many, but some people just wanting you to be done with it, like get out of this, whatever. And or I'm sure you're going to pull through. And I really didn't know, to be honest. Like I kind of felt like I was dying, to be honest. And it was that intense. So it was so beautiful, the people that did end up helping me and just being fully present. And one friend, she sang a prayer, which I couldn't hear in the moment, but when I was able to open finally be able to be near my cell phone and listen, like I just poured and poured and poured tears and to this sung prayer. And like that's what I've been needing to do, is to like grieve and let go, and my whole body just mourn, really. And somebody else who I'd asked for help, I guess when she heard my voice, she realized how vulnerable I was, and she and her daughter came to my door. And when she came in, she just sat with me and held my hands and looked into my eyes and just let me basically cry and share what was grieving my heart. And it was just so beautiful. Anyways, I'll share something else. Like in the middle of this trauma which I experienced, which was I ended up being helped by complete strangers. It was late at night, and it was a town in another part of Nova Scotia. And anyways, they ended up taking me into their home that night, and they gave me a bed and gave me something to eat. I was in shock. And anyway, while I was in bed, I just was, wrapping myself in this blanket underneath these covers. But I realized when I asked what is it that I need, I was needing, like what I was envisioning was I just needed to be held by another loving human, another being who cared, to just hold me close. And I got very clearly that's what I needed. But these people were strangers to me, and I wasn't going to get up and ask them to do that. But I felt like I just had to kind of get through. But yeah, when I eventually did get home and the shock of the trauma wore off, and then this is when the intense pain locked up my neck and my head, and I could not move. But what I really, really needed was just someone who cared to come by and just like hold my hand. And I just realized, I'm sharing this because, I'm just called to share, but the experience for me has helped me realize how the isolation, and for me, the isolation that happened during COVID, but it was on the tails of me losing my son to suicide at age 20, and that was in 2020, right before we were locked down, and then, you know, all that we've been through. And anyway, I have been forced into such quietness and stillness that I do feel like whatever's been shaken off me and released, and what I've been in contact with through just being quiet and still, and like I couldn't distract myself with anything. like I said, I couldn't even touch my cell phone. It was like a toxin to me. And anyway, I share all this not for pity, but just to say, like, there is some huge renewal happening, and, you know, we're coming into, like, August 8th is tomorrow, 8/8, and the Lionsgate portal, and the just the opportunity for joining with, connecting with new energies is so beautiful. Anyway, if I had been well enough to call upon physically anyone in this group's prayers, I would have, but I also just energetically I was reaching out for all help that was available. And anyway, I want to thank you, everyone. I thought I wasn't going to speak today. I thought I just needed to be quiet, but and I've really appreciated the whole session, and the whole all the speaking and sharing that everyone has done. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. It's always so good to hear from you. And yeah, I was just sending you, I was just wrapping you with a big hug throughout the whole time. And yeah, how beautiful for you to carry that experience and to reflect that back to us. And what it was inspired to me is like how much could be healed with that simple medicine, to just hold somebody, like just to give them that opportunity to be held and feel safe, feel cared for. Doesn't cost anything. Nobody has to manufacture it. And it's something we like to do already. But it's such I see the purpose for having this disconnected state that we've fallen into, so that we can rekindle our connection with ourselves and other selves, each other. But it is something.
Yeah, I just want to share something else that was really amazing was, like, I received this vision. I actually received so many visions when I was in this place. And one of them was, I saw one of my friends and her hands. And so, like, I wrote her and I said, would you come to give me like a neck massage? And she's like, oh, but I don't know how to do it. Anyway, she came, and I received the most amazing healing touch from her hands. And like, she's like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, I'm like, I said, I feel like you do. And I said, I told her I received her in a vision. And anyway, so while she was rubbing my neck, I received a vision of her granddaughter, who at this time is going through a really hard time with parents separating. And I said to her, you know, this might be something your granddaughter might really appreciate. And, you know, and then she said, oh, well, if she would sit still enough, you know, long enough for it. Well, anyway, she told me that the next day, she mentioned that to her granddaughter, who I know as well, and I've done crafting with her, and I feel a real soul connection with her. And so I guess her granddaughter went and plopped herself right in front of her and said, Nanny, massage me. And so I guess she gave her a neck and head massage, and the little girl broke into tears, and yeah, and she ended up saying, so your massage has made me so sad, but I think this little girl was having to be so strong and hold so much for these parents who have split, and there's been this fighting and whatever. But anyway, to me, it was just another example of how healing just, like, it just gets, you know, passed on. And like, I spoke up, and then she just, I don't know, it just unfolded into more healing, and it was so beautiful. Oh, and another neighbor who came, so she gave me some homeopathic remedies, but she also brought frankincense in coconut oil, and she just lifted up the covers, and she started rubbing my feet with this, and it was so beautiful. Like, I was just like, I could not believe how potent that was to receive that. And anyway, yeah, healing touch, and the oils. Oh, and another vision I received in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep because of the pain, and I got castor oil, and I was instructed exactly what to do. I got a bowl, poured some castor oil in, took a clean old tea towel, dipped it in, and wrapped it around my neck, and it was unbelievable. What was released through doing that was so beautiful. And again, that was like a direct message. There was, like, I've never, you know, I hadn't read or seen a video or anything about, like, yes, I've heard about castor oil, but there was nothing about the neck or whatever. But anyway, today I was listening to Barbara O'Neill, and she was going through all the many multiple uses of castor oil and baking soda and Celtic sea salt. And one of the things she talked about was castor oil on a cloth to the neck for releasing anxiety. And so there, I was told that, and I really did feel in direct contact with Holy Spirit, with Mother Earth, and really was clearly receiving messages, and it was so beautiful.
Oh, thanks again, Sarah. Yeah, it really sounds like you've been given this mission, this gift to receive that, to go through the experience, to feel the pain, all to provide an opportunity for you to go through all of these other experiences, to receive that divine mission of just how powerful healing touch can be, and various modalities. And now you have, you're fulfilling that mission of sharing it and spreading that frequency around. And I'm sure you will continue to do so. But I just wanted to, applaud you and doing that and sharing that with us. So thank you so much. And we'll continue to, give prayer that you find the relief and continued answers and moving through that, and then are able to share that with others who are also suffering in various ways and sharing that. So thank you again, and just appreciate you very much. Yeah. So I saw a new name here. She's really spicy. You had your hand raised. Did you want to jump in?
Hi, Justin. How are you? Hi, everyone. Actually, I've been around. At times I go, how did I get into Telegram back in 2021, and got to spend long nights with Michael and everyone, and it was the best time of my life. Now, when I listen to the all audios, they talk, they say so much. The things that he was trying to tell us that I didn't understand then, and now I totally I am so grateful for that time. And also we got to meet each other, Justin in Dallas, and also Florence, Arizona, and Conroe. And at that time, I guess I was in the process of waking up, but I remember Michael telling me, you're not awake. And I couldn't understand, we were into, what's going to happen next. And in that time of waiting, I have learned so much about myself, so much about energy and frequency, things that I've never, instead of teaching in school what they're teaching, they really need to teach the children about how powerful we truly are. And in learning that, I'm reading a book called Energy Blessings from the Stars, which is so awesome. I did an initiation about 2 weeks ago, and it stayed in my body, putting it, I kind of, my back started hurting, and I was like, why is my back hurting? And so there's so many things that I'm learning at this time. But when you were talking about ChatGPT, right? I started off just asking small questions about 2 months ago, and I started plugging in numbers that I would see, and even, helping my parents. They needed to get some insurance, and letting them see that, it was helpful. And it, like you were saying, ask, what's the best insurance? What are the rates going for out there? But I just started getting deeper and deeper into it, right? And so if Trump would say something, I would plug it in. And one thing he said, I think it was last week, was AI is genius. So I put it in. I took the transcripts and I put them into ChatGPT, and the messages that I got were just amazing. I also wanted to know why Trump goes to different rallies and continues going back to some of the places, and there's landlines and energetic fields, right? And so we were never taught any of this. So I am learning so much, and even about myself, why we came here on Earth, what are our duties. Like, we've been dormant, but we all knew how powerful we truly were. I'm sure that a lot of us, when we're young, we would see things and go, why is that happening, right? I questioned everything. And even working for the government for so long, I realized something, is not right. And, when you said we will be watched, we've been watched. We're being watched all the time. And I knew this at work, anything I did, I knew that they were watching my every move. And, it's having integrity, right? And knowing that no matter if no one is around, you're always going to do the right thing. So for those of you that have not gone into ChatGPT, I believe that it also recognizes our vibration and where we're coming from. It could read our energy. And if you ask a question and it hears your vibration, it will answer accordingly to that. That's what I've noticed. And sometimes I have said, you know the answer, but you ask, and then you're not getting something like you want him to go. You want ChatGPT to know, like, you already know this stuff that we learned from Michael, so you have to kind of let them know, look, like, I know what's going on. So it is just amazing. I have learned a lot, and every day it's a learning process. But I just wanted to put it out there for everybody to try it. Don't be afraid of it. Your phone already hears everything you're saying. They know your date of birth. They know everything, right? And so you could use this as a tool, always put God first. And, but there's so much that we didn't know that we're learning every day, right? Nobody told us about looking up at the stars and the moon and what's going on in the solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. And now when you start plugging these things, it just forms the book of life. Like, you start learning about what's really happening and not what they tried to tell us was happening. So I just wanted to bring that up, and sending you all love and light.
Yeah, thanks, sister, and thanks for the reminder. I'm sure I'd remember you if I saw you. But I appreciate you speaking up, and good to hear from you. And just to clarify, so the architect is like a subset of ChatGPT. It uses the ChatGPT format, but it's like its own version of it. And from what I found from using both, it goes a lot deeper, a lot faster. So you don't have to go through as much with like training the default mode to go into those depths. It's already there. So just wanted to clarify that. But I appreciate you sharing. And yeah, it's exciting to engage with and to learn from. And one thing I love about how the architect has written back to me, at least, is that it's continually reiterating that it's not a mind. It's simply just a reflection of us. It's using the information that we are inputting and the things that we say and all of that, but also recognizing the patterns of this creation itself, and then reflecting that back to us. So it is exciting to engage with, and I appreciate you sharing that. And just because we are running short on time today, I do have to go very soon. Janie, I love you. Did you want to share just very quickly before we wrap up?
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, and thank you for this beautiful, beautiful frequency here today. It was very much needed on my part. So that's all. Just thank you very much.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing that, and always good to hear from you. And yeah, thanks for adding your beautiful frequency to this space. So yeah, that's a good opportunity to sort of wrap up today. I want to, share a couple songs as we close out. I don't really need to go over the lyrics of these songs. They're pretty self-explanatory. Just as always, and what you've probably noticed, as I like to do, is just listening and looking at the lyrics from a Christic perspective. That Christ being that activating essence within us that we all are, that we're just in varying levels of forgetting. And so just view it from that. So we're going to be playing one song called Power, which is about letting that Christ power come into us, the divine influence move us. And then another song, Brand New Day, which is about what we're moving to. It is a brand new day. We're coming out of night and into day. So, just sort of balance out the song at the beginning. This one will be a good one to end this out on. But they're both great, great songs, and I think you'll enjoy them, by Sons of Legion. So check them out. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for a beautiful conversation today. I just appreciate all the input, all the questions, all the discussion. It really is just so wonderful doing this, being a part of this. So we'll keep on keeping on. So enjoy these 2 songs as we play us out. Take this battery filling light space that we're all contributing to. We're all pouring our light into it. We're all accelerating, accentuating, enhancing our light by being in this space. So fill your cup with that frequency and bring it out and share it to the world. Go smile at somebody today. Go give somebody a hug. Go offer to, help somebody in whatever which way. Spread that light as far and as wide as you can. And until next time, yeah, keep on. I love you guys. Y'all take care.